Welcome back to another episode of Pursuit. Tonight we are continuing the conversation on Jesus in our generation. We did a little. Did you hear that? We did a little teaser last week of this week's episode. Does anyone remember what it is? I do this with the children's church kids all the time.
Say.
We're talking about
children's teacher without telling me your children's teacher.
It's hard to turn it off sometimes. We're talking about religion tonight, kind of with a focus on spirituality versus religious. Because I feel like nowadays, a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. And it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I feel like it's just an excuse to not be like prioritizing a religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's kind of like you're taking the spiritual aspects of a religion, but you're not taking the rules and the guidelines that it requires, because that would kind of hold you in check. So it's like you're taking the perks of like living a worldly life, but you're also like, yeah, no, I believe in the universe. I feel like I sound so mocking and like, it's no offense, but maybe a little. No, I'm kidding. But a lot of people are like, yeah, I just put it out into the universe and I just like, tell the universe what I want. And it's like, what does that mean? Who are you telling in the universe? Clearly there's a higher power. You can just say that it's a god. I feel like that's okay.
Yeah, they'll be like, it is a higher power, but no name.
Yeah. You have to name it or it has no power. Anyways. That's basically the basis of this conversation that we're going to have tonight. Switching topics a little bit. Do you think that church is important? And by church, I mean the physical building and like everything that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, I have been in church for a really long time, and I can't imagine me being this involved in church if I hadn't been in building and adhering to those rules, and like my mom waking me up basically as a child, because let's be real, there were moments when I was like, I don't want to go today, but she'd be like, no, get up, you have to go inside into church. And like I know that there are a lot of like sermons online, or you can watch whenever you can, and that's fine, but I feel like there's something it's better.
Different.
Yeah, it feels, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, there's like, I feel like a lot of people say it, but like you feel like the movement of the spirit when you're in person, because like I don't remember where the scripture is, but it's like when 2 or 3 are gathered, like there I will be like in your presence. So if it's just me staring at a little screen like, yeah, go Jesus, it's not gonna have the same effect as like a whole crowd of people like worshiping together and like having that same mindset. And I think that is why church is important, because it's not just, we're going to the building and we're going to sit down and listen to a sermon. No, we're going to the building. We're going to have praise. We're going to have worship. We're going to learn. We're going to actively listen to what he's saying, like through the sermon to us. And then afterwards, you're going to like fellowship with people around you. I think that sense of community often gets lost within the online I was going to say online community, but I feel like I'm saying community a lot. But I feel like that in-person presence is what's missed when you're just virtual all the time.
Yeah, there's something really special about being in building and connecting with people too. Like, at home, you might not get that. And again, not knocking people that watch sermons at home or anything.
Sometimes it's unavoidable. Like sometimes that's your only option, and that's okay. But it's different when you're in person.
I also like look at it, I don't even know if it's like a guilt thing, but like there'll be times where I'm like, it's just easier to like be in my pajamas on a Sunday morning, like watching it online. But then I'm like, but you would get dressed up to go outside, to go out.
Yeah.
And you can't do it for Jesus.
I was going to say, or it's like, this man really died on a cross for your life. Like he was beaten, bruised, pierced, everything, and he was unalived, and he did that for you, and you're not going to put some proper clothes on? Like that's what I kind of like, I check myself, because it's like, homeboy died.
Mm-hmm.
And you just can't throw a face of makeup on, comb your hair a little bit. Okay. And we're talking about Jesus in our generation. So what do you think our generation's relationship is with the church? How would you describe it?
Honestly, I feel like it differs for every
Person to person?
I think it also has a lot to do with where you are in life, because I know, like, for high schoolers, I mean, more power to them if they, are very, into their religion. But I know in high school I was not. I mean, I was going to church, but I wasn't actively, pursuing a relationship. I wasn't looking, like I was just there, and then every Sunday I would still be there, but not
You're
really
not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as a whole, like the millennial Gen Z generation, we have kind of taken a step back from church just because there are a lot more options out there.
Mhm.
And that's why I think a lot of people are comfortable with saying they're spiritual, but they're not religious, because they're not conforming to like the institutionalized religion and like the aspects where there are rules that you need to follow, but they're conforming to the fact that, yeah, there is something out there and I'm going to believe in it, even if I don't know what it is. And I think that's the difference between religion and spirituality, is that when you have a religion and you're focused on your religion, you can build a relationship upon that. Ow, I just cricked my neck. Oh, that was weird. You can keep that in, I guess. I don't know how you cut it. But when you say that you have a religion, it's more than just a set of rules that you have to follow, right? It's like you can form a relationship not only with that higher power, with God, but with the people that identify with your religion as well. And I think that sense of community is what a lot of people miss out on when they say they're spiritual. Because when I think of spirituality, I think of like crystals and like
Yeah.
I don't want to be offensive. I really don't. I don't know if this is, but when I think of spirituality, I think of like hippy dippy people with like crystals and like you recharge them in the sun. It's like, how does that do? They're not solar powered. What do crystals do? I don't understand. I really don't. And then there are those TikToks where it's like, I need a, where it's like some random person like, I need a white girl with a nose ring to tell me why this is happening to me. And then it'll be like someone stitches it and be like, you have depression. Or it's like Mercury's in retrograde.
Oh my God.
Or
yeah.
like I don't know what that means. Or it's like, yeah, your Leo moon is in rising and your Sagittarius. What are these words?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I'm sorry.
As you said, I think it's just a way. I mean, I also don't want to come off as offensive. I mean, if that's what you want, then sure.
But I feel like we also shouldn't be encouraging it as like, a Christian podcast. I don't want to knock you for being into things, but I don't understand it. And I don't.
I mean, we're allowed to feel the way that we feel.
Yeah, your feelings are valid. Okay. But also that sense of individualism of like not conforming to a religion but being spiritual. Why is individualism so popular? Why is that like the sole focus of a lot of people's attention nowadays?
I feel like it has a lot to do with it being, because this generation is all about being trendy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it on TikTok a lot where it's like, as you said, like the crystals and the whatever. It's like there's a lot of, I'm trying to word this in the best way possible. There's a lot of attention, I guess, around the fact that everyone is allowed to express themselves the way that they feel fit, and there's kind of no rule or
like you don't have to fit the stereotype or like society's rules.
And that's why it's like very important to like, that's why I see people like saying, oh, individualism, it's like we're allowed to feel the way that we want to, basically. And there's not much on religion where like they don't want the connection, but they do like want, as you said, like all the benefits.
And I think that kind of stems from like certain people have had bad experiences with religion. And a lot of times those experiences they kind of turn them away completely from like either the church or the temple or like whatever religion it was. And so instead of being able to grow around it, they are that hurt that they're not able to see outside of it. And I think that's why everyone's so individualistic, because it's like, no one's going to look out for me. No one's going to do anything for me. I need to do it all for myself. And I need to make myself look different while doing it so that people will see that I'm doing it. And I think that's kind of where this generation misses out on that sense of community. Because yes, it is totally valid. A lot of people have had very bad experiences with the church. And I am very sorry that you had that experience, because it never should have happened if they were like, not only open-minded, but like if you really read the word and what it's about love. It's about like, showing love and turning the other cheek and like, all those little things that people say all the time. But like, that's what it's about. It's not about judging people because they don't conform to what you think they should be. And I think that is why a lot of people say that they're spiritual without being religious, because they see religion as something you need to conform to and not something that you live. And that sense of community that, or I guess that the impact of individualism has kind of closed a lot of people off to that sense of community outside of like, but like that sense of being hurt from the church has led a lot of people to individualism. And did I say it right?
Yeah.
Oh. And over time you see from like the older, like the millennials to the Gen Zers, there's a lot more of I gotta put me first, right? Versus like, how can we help build each other up? And I think that impact has really changed generations to come. And I don't know if it's for the better.
Also, like, I wanted to add, I feel like, how we talked about last time, I believe it was, that it's been harder to form connections, I think, with this generation. Like, it's just harder in general. But I also feel like religion has a lot to do with connection.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like it relates, like, with it being like people being more, like you have to be independent, and like, not independence is very important, but you don't have to be like, I feel that it's very trendy to be heartless and to not have emotion, and gonna keep it real, like religion, there's a lot of emotion. You have to lay it all down, but it like in the best way. Like you have like the best person looking after your heart. And I feel like that's why a lot of people also separate the two, and why it's so like they would rather be spiritual instead of have a religion, because they don't want to feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah, you don't want to be tied down to certain things. And that kind of reminds me of in 1 Corinthians, where it talks about like you are the body of Christ, right? And a body has many parts. Every part is good for something else, and you kind of work together to be that one body. But how can you be a body if you are a single person? Like you can only be one part, like not even at a time. You can only be one part. So if you're individualistic and you're not part of a community, you can't really grow at all.
Yeah.
Like even if you say, yeah, I started from the bottom and I did this all by myself. No, you didn't. Because someone had to open the door for you to start that and to allow you to learn and allow you to grow. So it's like when you have that mindset of solely being individualistic, I don't think you're setting yourself up for success. And I think that within religion and within the church, from my experiences, I've gained more like work experience and like growth within the church than I have outside. So like public speaking, I hated it with my entire fiber of my being. But I started with like the church plays, and I started like finding my voice in Sunday school, where it's a smaller class but you're still able to say what you think, and like you're not immediately shot down because people are like, oh, that's a stupid question. But it's like, well, it's okay, like you're not on the right track necessarily with this thought, but I'm going to guide you as to where you need to be. And it's that type of guidance and people that are open to helping you grow and to learn that allows you to be able to express yourself and allows you to be able to say that, hey, this is who I am and this is what I believe. And I'm going to tell as many people as I can about it because I love it. Not only do I love it, it's a great outlet. It's like it's just brings you a sense of fulfillment. Like you're not constantly searching for something, like we were talking about in the last episode. Like you're not constantly scrolling to find like what you need to do next or what styles you need to copy. Like you can build your identity around the fact that I am a Christian and I have a relationship with God.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the Christian community, like although there's a lot of opinions about Christians, like outside of people who don't believe. When you are in church and you have those people to connect with, it's like they understand you on a different level than other people will.
And I think we kind of build our own culture and community within the church. But outside of the church, do you think our culture has become more like anti-institutional?
So can you explain what you mean by anti-institutional?
So by anti-institutional, I mean like you're not conforming to like the government or like to the man. Like you're not conforming to the rules and so what people are telling you that you need to do, like society rules or like the government or like the 10 Commandments even.
Yeah, I feel like our culture finds it easier to not want to follow rules and guidelines. Like I know that within the Christian community there are certain things that are acceptable and not acceptable, but with today's culture, they're very much self-expression and you should be able to do what you want, and that's why I feel like there's no limit. Like they don't want to be limited.
Yeah, I think everyone always kind of is like, oh, I don't want to do the rules. I don't want to follow the rules. Like even like back in the day, like with all the protests and stuff. And I think there is good and there is bad to that because with protesting and stuff, if you do it the right way, you can get results. I know a lot of our protests lately, right? We're putting the word out there and we're trying to get things done. Doesn't always happen, which whatever. But we're making progress. Like we're making baby steps and it's going to take time to get there. But I think there is also the emphasis on like no one tells me what to do. I'm going to do whatever I want. And that is why a lot of people don't want to conform to religion and they're like anti-rules because like I think some of the rules that are there, like I wouldn't have even thought of if someone hadn't told me not to do it. And it's the fact that you're telling me not to do it is why I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, I get it, but I think that's a very, like, I thought that as a child, right? But now that I'm older and like, the justification behind certain things, I can see why you tell me not to do it. And I think the reason that a lot of people are anti-institutional is because they weren't given the why. They were just given the what. Like they were told what not to do, but they weren't told why. And for that reason alone, they're going to lash out. And I think that has kind of led to why a lot of people are resistant to being part of the church. Because if people are constantly telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't express yourself at all, you can't, like, you have to wear this, you have to wear that. When we're singing songs, you have to lift your hands and you have to close your eyes when we pray. That's very like brash and it's not welcoming at all. And I think that's also where a lot of different like sects of SECTS sects I guess, of religion come from. Is that the right word? That's where a lot of like different parts of religion, like Christianity, come from, because there are a lot of different branches and stuff. And it's like, I don't think this is biblical, but okay. And it's like, I mean, you do you. You're reading the Bible. I'm hoping that if you're praying to the right person, it will be revealed to you in the right time. I don't know where I was going with that, really.
Yeah, but as you were saying, I feel like it's the rebellious spirit in many people to why they don't want to follow rules. And again, it's just when you're being told to do something without understanding the meaning behind it, it gets lost in translation. Like you just like you're like, oh, okay, like they're just being annoying about it. But it's like, I feel like once you grow to understand the reason, you're like, okay, like I understand, and I would probably say the same thing to the next person.
And then that sense of gosh, every time individuality or individualism. Like I had referenced 1 Corinthians 12 before, but I pulled up chapter 12 verse 18. But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants it. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. And that's kind of when you are with that solely individualistic mindset, you are just a single part. And it goes on to say, yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you, and the head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body that seem weakest and least important are actually the most necessary, and the parts that we regard as less honorable are those to be clothed with the greatest care. So we carefully protect those parts that should not be seen, while the more honorable parts do not require the special care. So God has put the body together such that extra honor and care can be given to those parts that have less dignity. This makes for harmony among the members, so that all the members care for each other. If one part suffers, all of the parts suffer with it. And if one part is honored, all of the parts are glad. All of you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it. So, that was a lot. I could have skipped a couple verses, but I didn't know if the meaning would have gotten lost in the skipping. But basically, we're all a part of Christ, of the body of Christ. I can't, my arm can't just tell my foot, I want you to stop walking. Because I want to do it instead. How weird would that be if I was just walking one hand and one foot? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we have that individualistic mindset of where it's like, I'm the only one that's furthering myself, I'm the only one that can do things for me, you lose that sense of community, and then you don't end up going anywhere because you don't, not necessarily rely, but you don't work with people to get you to where you need to be. And then I think that's one of the things that draws a lot of people to religion, which is that sense of community and that sense of growth within a group, because everyone is good for something different, right? Like I work with kids a lot, right? So if a parent wanted to come to the service, but they don't have anyone to watch their kids, they bring them to the children's church. So that's what I'm good at. I'm helping you get your biblical fix or your growth by looking after your children. If I wasn't there, where would you be? No one knows, because you wouldn't be in the church probably.
Yeah.
Right? There are different people that are good for different things. And once we have that sense of community and that sense of understanding within each other, I think that's where we're allowed to grow within not just ourselves, but within the church and within Christ. And we're able to build that relationship. What do you think is so alluring about living apart from institutionalized Christianity?
Yeah, so I think that it's because people want to live, it's without the Christian community. Without the Christian community, it's kind of easier to not be held accountable for your actions. You could kind of do whatever you want and get away with it. Well, I guess you could, yeah.
Yeah, within a little reason. Breaking the law, you might get caught sometimes. But yeah, there's no one to hold you accountable. You can kind of do whatever you want. No one's going to check you or be like, hey, that's not really right. Ethically, maybe you shouldn't do that. But even more than moral and ethics, I think religion kind of holds you accountable for your actions and kind of not only does it, because I think with religion, it makes you want to be a better person, but a lot of people see it more so as religion is forcing me to do these things so that I can achieve the goal of getting into heaven and being saved. And I think that the mindset of like religion is forcing me to do these things that I don't want to do is the mindset of someone that has not truly experienced the goodness of God and has not truly experienced like what a community within Christ is, because that has been instrumental in my life and like my overall growth. Because how do I when you have experienced the mercy of God like in your life and the goodness of God in your life, it kind of shows you like, hey, he's done all of these things for me. Like before I was like a thought in anyone's mind, like generations and generations ago. He's done all these things for me to just be here, and I can't just be a decent person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think that makes sense. But once you don't have that light in your life, it's easy to fall into the darkness and like to just do whatever you want and live only for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like people, it's harder for them to, for those without religion to, without this religion to understand what we mean by like, feeling like wanting to live for God and understanding why we are doing it and why he did it for us, because they don't know, like they've never like really tried to learn that aspect of it. But because we know, like we know that he died for us, and he's everything, like he's our peace if we want it. And there's a lot of like love within him.
Yeah. And I think that that love that is within the religion is what tends to get lost in translation with the rules, because a lot of people focus more on the negatives than the positive, and I think that's human nature. But I also think that's why religion is like Christianity is very important, because it teaches you to reframe yourself to focus on the positives over the negatives. I think that's a decent place to end, right? Like focus on the positives. What are the good things in your life? What are the good things that God has done for you? I feel like we should always be grateful for that, and to like reframe our minds as to why we should be religious versus spirituality. Because I can believe that there is a God and I can believe that he is doing things for me. But if I don't have a relationship with him, how do I know like what his plans are for me? How do I know who God really is for me and in my life and in the life of people around me?
Exactly.
All right. And with that, be great.